What is going on, Headliner Nation? Jake and Kyle coming back at you today. And Kyle, we're going to continue with some rankings, right? We've done running backs, we've done wide receivers. If you haven't checked those out yet, make sure you do after this show. But in this episode, we're talking a little bit of tight ends, the football kind, top 12 rankings here. A little bit early, but why not talk about some tight ends here in April?
It's hard not to get excited when we get to jump on camera and rank our top 12 tight ends.
The football kind.
What could be better than that,
if
right?
If they were the non-football kind, our wives would not be impressed with us.
That's for a different channel.
Yeah, different channel, different timing. But in this one, like I said, we're going to break down the top 12 tight ends for each of us. We each have different rankings, different players in different spots. So we're going to have a graphic here up on the screen and kind of talk our way through it, give you the reasons why we have them where we do. And we're going to disagree because I can tell you right now, I've seen Kyle's rankings and we don't match at all. But before we get into these rankings, just a real quick reminder on our website, thefantasyheadliners.com, our draft guide is available for pre-order. Still only $14.99. Go get it while you can. If you're worried about the NFL season not being played, don't worry. If it doesn't, we'll refund your money. You're not out of anything, but it gives you something to look forward to. But in this episode, for the next few minutes, let's just talk some tight ends, Kyle. And let's start off number one. And for me, I have Travis Kelce, number one, and it's kind of somewhat obvious to me, but it's kind of like 1A, 1B, maybe even 1C this year. And there's a lot of options there this year, maybe that we didn't have last year overall as a tight end position. But for me, Travis Kelce, still a high-volume tight end in an offense that we know utilizes the tight end, arguably one of the best offenses in football. Now, Sammy Watkins coming back. Does it hurt him? No, not really, because he's been there before. We know that upside is going to be there for Travis Kelce, and in my opinion, I'm going with the guy on the best offense in all the NFL with Travis Kelce at number one.
Yeah, Travis Kelce, safe pick for number one overall at the tight end position. Absolutely. Now, I do have George Kittle at number one overall, and I have Kelce at two, and I think you have Kittle at two as well. So we've just kind of flip-flopped at that position. Just the reason I'm going with Kittle just a little bit higher than Kelce right now is because of the targets that might potentially be there for Kittle. They're not going to be distributed among so many other decent to good players as they will be in San Francisco. So I've got Kittle just a little bit higher right now.
Yeah, the reason I got Kittle at two, and there's a name that maybe some people haven't heard of that has a chance to come back this year. It's Jalen Hurd. No, he's not a tight end. He's like a tight end wide receiver hybrid. If he does come back, he's somebody who could see some additional targets in this offense. Plus, there's a chance that they draft a wide receiver to go along with Deebo Samuel, somebody else there in that offense. Plus, we know they run the ball a lot. But like you said, we got them flip-flop between one and two. But either way, you're getting yourself one of the best tight ends in fantasy football. So number three is where I have Zach Ertz. And to me, right now, the only reason I have Zach Ertz this high is because there's nobody else in Philly to throw the ball to. There's no ball catchers in Philly as of right now. Hopefully they draft somebody. Hopefully somebody on God's green earth comes into Philadelphia that can catch some passes for an entire season and stay healthy. But as of right now, it's the Zach Ertz show. The volume is going to be there just like it has been. The biggest question mark, health. Can him and Carson Wentz both stay healthy for an entire season?
Yeah, Zach Ertz was a little disappointing last year to begin the year. Came on really, really strong at the end of the year, though. So, that was good to see that connection was still there. However, what are they going to do in the draft? That's the big thing here. And like you said, the reason he's so high for me as well is because there's no one else to throw the ball there to outside of Dallas Goedert. So I'm going to go with Zach Ertz at number three. And really the tight end position this year is broken down into three main tiers. And your first tier is going to be Kittle, Kelce, and Ertz for me. And then tier two, we're going to talk about them here in a minute. And then tier three is going to be a whole mess load of players. I honestly think that this is going to be the deepest tight end position that we have seen in several years. I knew I was setting you up for it. I was hoping that you'd go there.
I'm not mature enough for things like that, Kyle. You can't say things like that and have me not react to it. But I agree. Tier three, maybe where, if you don't land one of the top guys, where we kind of, look a lot for fantasy football drafts, but that's down the line. For me, though, number four right now is where we're at. And at number four, I have Mark Andrews, Baltimore Ravens, burst onto the scene last year. A lot of people pleasantly surprised with the production that they got from Mark Andrews. Now, we told a lot of people earlier in the season, last year, hey, who was going to be the 2019 version of the 2018 version George Kittle? Who's going to break out? Who's it going to be? And we said it was going to be Mark Andrews. Were we expecting what we got? Maybe not to that level. And right now, with Marquise Brown not being 100% healthy consistently, not taking away those targets, there's no Hayden Hurst there anymore. He's going to continue to be the top target as of right now, for the Baltimore Ravens. Now, that could change on draft day. That's why these are so early. But right now, the way that they utilize him in this offense paired with Lamar Jackson, I got Mark Andrews number 4.
Yeah. So I've got Mark Andrews at number 6, and I love Mark Andrews. Okay. I don't have anything against him. Again, we were high on him last year on this channel. He's in for another really good year. The reason I've got him just a little bit lower right now is because Baltimore runs the ball so damn much. If they didn't run the ball as much as they did, I'd probably prop Mark Andrews up at that number 4 position that you currently have him. Heck, honestly, I'd probably put Mark Andrews at number 3 ahead of Zach Ertz if they didn't run the ball so much. I mean, they ran the ball almost 100 times more than the next closest team last season. So are they going to add another pass catcher there? We did see last week that Antonio Brown was working out with Lamar Jackson and Marquise Brown. Is anything going to happen there? Probably not, but just something to keep an eye on.
Nope. Now, I saw the clips on social media too, and don't forget that Marquise Brown and Antonio Brown, they're related. They're
cousins.
They're cousins. So, I mean, a lot of people got really excited really quick, but I mean, I think I already saw something come out from Baltimore saying, no, we're not actively pursuing Antonio Brown. But yeah, I mean, could you imagine that on the field? I think they actually did a workout with Jerry Jeudy too, which was a crazy trio for Lamar Jackson to be thrown to. Mm-hmm. Number 5, somebody who we really liked again last year. If you bought our draft guide last season, you heard about this guy because nobody else really paid attention to him until the season started. And for me, it's Darren Balls to the Waller, Oakland. Oh, it's not Oakland. It's not Oakland anymore. That's still a Havoc, Kyle. It's the Las Vegas Raiders, and I don't care if I mess it up. It's going to happen all year long. It's the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, they brought in Jason Witten, who's like 2 years shy as being old as dirt. He's close. I mean, he's really pointless at this point. I don't understand that signing unless they're just trying to get a veteran presence in the locker room. He's still going to be Darren Waller. That is a highly targeted option in that offense. They need pass-catching weapons, and in every mock draft we've done, we've had them taking a wide receiver in the first round, a Jerry Jeudy, a CeeDee Lamb, somebody like that in the first round. Now, if that happens, does it hurt Darren Waller? Maybe a little bit, because last year they literally had nothing else besides Darren Waller, on a consistent basis throughout the season. But right now at the tight end position, the ceiling's still a little bit too high just based on the volume for me to put Darren Waller any lower.
Yeah, as one of the main conductors of the Darren Waller train last season, I do have him a little bit lower. So I've got him all the way down at 7 right now. And again, if you've been a part of this community for a while, you know how hard we pushed Darren Waller last year. And a lot of you were able to win fantasy championships because of being able to get him either in the later portions of your draft or off the waiver wire there in that first week or so. I've got him a little bit lower right now, as you said, the possible addition in the draft of another wide receiver, but also Josh Jacobs in the passing game this year for Las Vegas. Again, we've talked about him a lot. We're both very high on him. We both think he's going to contribute significantly in the passing game. So if you see that there, if you see Witten on the field a little bit more, taking away from Waller, just a few of those things, I think we're going to see some of those targets step back this year. And that's why I have Waller just a little bit lower at 7.
All right. And what about number 6 for me? A guy that maybe, propelled a lot of people either to the fantasy playoffs or to fantasy championships. For me, it's Tyler Higbee of the Rams. He kind of just burst onto the scene. Brandon Cooks could not stay healthy all year long. Cooper Kupp was, inconsistent at times. But Tyler Higbee down the stretch looked like a top 5 tight end. Now we know that Brandon Cooks is on the outs with the Rams. We know there's no more Todd Gurley there. Cooper Kupp still the favorite target maybe in the offense, and don't sleep on Robert Woods by any means, but Tyler Higbee is somebody who could be a little bit sneaky. Now, he's a name that may be a little bit too expensive come draft day because some people are going to realize and remember what he was end of 2019, so pay attention to what his ADP is, but Tyler Higbee is a great athletic tight end that can sneak up on a lot of people this year.
Yeah, and the reason, now I do have him a little bit lower, so now I've got him at 8. And one of the reasons why I've got him just a little bit lower is because of Gerald Everett. So Gerald Everett last season, he did end up getting hurt last year. And that helped. That's really why Tyler Higbee kind of broke out of nowhere towards the end of the season. And fantasy owners that had him or were able to grab him off the waiver wire were able to ride him to a championship. But that position was really up and down for quite a while. Some of the stats for Gerald Everett leading up to his injury, there was a time from week 4 on, his targets per game, 8, 11, 5, 10, 3, 12. And that was before he got hurt. So because of that right there, that shows you that Gerald Everett was seeing a significant amount of those tight end targets. So, and he's back healthy next year. Are they going to be running a lot more 2 tight end sets? Again, the reason I have Higbee where he's at right now is because Gurley is gone. The reason I don't have him higher is because Gerald Everett is going to be back on the field. If Cooks were to leave for some reason, if they decide to part ways with him, if they can trade him or cut him, whatever it may be, then I think that reinforces that here with me, with Tyler Higbee. But there is a chance based on what happens over the next couple of months, next few months, that Higbee falls a little bit even lower for me. And honestly, I could see him falling out of tight end 1 consideration for me this year because of Gerald Everett. So it's a little bit early. That's why I've got him lower. But again, I'm not nearly as high on him as a lot of people right now.
Yeah, and it really depends. And that's why we preface this at the beginning of the show. It's early. There's some things that we need to really watch over the next few months. Number 7, I have Jared Cook of the Saints. Now, Jared Cook was a decent tight end last year. He was not, what he was the year before in Oakland, where he was Darren Waller a couple years ago in that Oakland offense. He was the only thing to be featured. And now there's other options in New Orleans. Had a solid year last year, and I think he's going to be one of those solid back-end tight end ones once again this year. They've brought in Emmanuel Sanders. We already know that the alpha dog in that offense is going to be Michael Thomas. That is just what it is. Alvin Kamara comes back this year, going to be a little bit more healthy than he was possibly last year. I think Jared Cook is a safe pick in those mid to late rounds. Some people are going to sleep on him a little bit and kind of ignore that name because they think that the addition of Emmanuel Sanders is just going to take away all of his, potential. And it may take away a few targets, but once they get into the red zone, he's still one of those big-bodied, receivers that they can lean on if, opposing defenses are double-teaming Michael Thomas. Jared Cook gives them that availability. I got him dropped down to number 7. He's somebody, though, who over the next few months I'm going to be watching. He could also start to drop a few spots. Also, we've mentioned the name Traquan Smith before. We both like him. He hasn't really gotten an opportunity in this offense, but if he gets more looks, that's where I think it starts to hurt Jared Cook.
Yeah, Jared Cook was a beast at the end of the year last year. I mean, for a guy that really just was nowhere to be seen for the first few weeks, for him to come out and finish the season the way he did was big for the Saints, was big for him, was big for Drew Brees, was big for 2020. So I definitely have Jared Cook inside the top 12. I've got him at 9. But I really like him a lot this year. One of the reasons that I've talked about, not loving Kamara as much as other people is because the Emmanuel Sanders signing, I think, hurts Kamara more than anyone else. So that signing right there, I don't believe takes away from Cook too much. Cook is going to be a big red zone threat for them, though. So if he can get 6 to 10 touchdowns somewhere in that range, I mean, he's going to be locked in as a tight end 1 this year.
Yep, agreed. For me, number 8, a second-year tight end who I think at this point, still early, has a huge chance to be one of the big-name breakouts this year. I got Noah Fant at number 8. And the reason I have him so high is there's really nobody else there outside of Cortland Sutton, catching passes on the outside. I mean, yeah, I know they've gotten, a 3-headed monster, I guess you could say, whatever it is in the backfield with Melvin Gordon, Phillip Lindsay. I doubt Royce Freeman sees a whole lot of the field, but if they don't add more pass-catching weapons in the draft that are, week 1 ready, I think Noah Fant comes out and has himself a solid year as one of these guys that we've seen over the past couple of years, the George Kittles, the Mark Andrews. Noah Fant is a very big athletic tight end that can, break away from defenders. He is not some possession-style receiver. He is a big play waiting to happen. I loved him when he came in. We went and saw him at the Combine 2 years ago. Loved what I saw from Noah Fant. And I think that as long as they don't add too many other weapons that are ready to go week 1, I think Noah Fant eats in fantasy football this year and going to see a lot of targets from Drew Lock, who's another quarterback who we don't dislike either.
Yeah. Noah Fant, for me, I don't have him inside the top 12 right now. That could change really quick, though. And this is why, when I made the comment a few minutes ago about there being tiers within the tight end position this year, 3 main tiers, there's a tier 1, tier 2. Noah Fant falls into that tier 3 for me. And that tier 3, honestly, could be anywhere between 8 and 12 different tight ends right now. Tier 3 is going to be a tier where that maybe they don't finish is like the 12, 11, 10 overall tight end. But if they're just outside of that, it may be a point or two per game difference. And that's where I see Noah Fant. The one thing with Noah Fant, like you said, big play tight end, 14.05 yards per reception last year. I mean, there was a couple of games where he had 38 yards per reception, 28, 28, 12, 14. So when he's getting the ball, he seems to be doing quite a bit with it, but he's really volume dependent as well. Even though he's making those big plays, in some of those games, he's only got a couple of targets here, a couple of targets there. So, does that change this year? Again, do they add a weapon? Melvin Gordon being in Denver, does him and Phillip Lindsay both being in the backfield mean that some of those targets will kind of go over to Gordon, even though we're like, yeah, Lindsay's still pass catching back? Is Gordon going to still continue kind of his role that he had while he was with the Los Angeles Chargers? So I think there's some things in flux there for me right now.
Yeah, and if they go out there and they get one of these big name wide receivers, that's something that'll hurt Noah Fant and move him down for me also. Number 9, I have our boy Hunter Henry.
Oh, snap.
I love Hunter Henry. I love the ability of Hunter Henry. I love the potential of it. It just seems like on a yearly basis, we're disappointed due to either injuries or, he's just not getting the volume. And right now, I kind of worry with Tyrod Taylor being the quarterback. I mean, I know he's supplied, Charles Clay in the past in Buffalo, but can he supply enough in this offense to feed Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Hunter Henry? I mean, what's actually going to happen? Are they going to, stick with Tyrod? Are they going to draft a rookie like a Justin Herbert or something? That may change things a little bit. I just don't know if Hunter Henry is going to see consistent volume on a week-to-week basis with Tyrod under center, and that's why I don't have him higher. Got him coming in at number 9.
I hear you, but I'm going to convince you.
Do it. I'm listening.
So I've got Hunter Henry all the way up at 4. Absolutely love Hunter Henry. Okay. I love Hunter Henry. That's how much I love him. I love him. So here's the thing with Hunter Henry. Like you said, there has been some disappointment, right? Yep. Whether it be injury or just maybe hasn't become what we thought he would be. The talent is 100% there. Last year, he saw the targets. The volume was there. He ended up being hurt a little bit, didn't score nearly as much as we would like. Tyrod Taylor is a concern for some people. Tyrod Taylor, though, is a guy that looked to his tight end while he was in Buffalo. 74 targets for Charles Clay while Tyrod Taylor was still there in 2017 during his final year. That was second on the team. Yes, they didn't have a whole bunch of receiving options. Okay, Keenan Williams and Mike Williams are a whole lot better than what they had there. But it still shows that, hey, he was looking Charles Clay's way quite a bit. The year before that, Charles Clay, 87 targets. That's a team, too. That's a team that had Robert Woods, who we saw. Okay, we've seen him. Marquise Goodwin, and Sammy Watkins. Okay, so still Charles Clay led that team in targets as well as Tyrod Taylor there. So is Tyrod Taylor going to be able to get the ball to him? Is he going to look Hunter Henry's way? 100%. I think he's absolutely going to look that way. Also, the year before that, 77 targets. So at least 74 targets every single year for Charles Clay while Tyrod Taylor was the quarterback in Buffalo. Okay. That's why I'm good with it. Yes, he's going to have to go other directions. He's going to have to go to Keenan Allen. He's going to have to go to Mike Williams, but he's going to go to Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry, as long as he is healthy, is a top 5 tight end for me this year based on volume and touchdowns.
All right, ask me if you sold me.
Probably not as high as I have him.
Nope.
But maybe feel a little bit better.
Nope, not sold at all. All right, moving on. Number 10. And I can't wait to get to number 10 because I love to say the name. It's a staple of this channel. We've been talking about this guy for 3 years. This will be the 4th, and I'm talking about one Jack motherfucking Doyle. of the Indianapolis Colts.
Love it.
I love me some Jack Doyle this year. I just want him to stay healthy. That's the biggest issue right now is health. And he hasn't been able to stay healthy in the past. However, now with no Eric Ebron in this offense, they've brought in Phillip Rivers. We know what Phillip Rivers has done in the past with his tight ends, with Antonio Gates and the aforementioned Hunter Henry. It's going to be somebody who's utilized in this offense if he can stay on the field. Right now, it's really just T.Y. Hilton, maybe Paris Campbell. Do they add somebody else in the draft? Entirely possible. They may. That's something we need to pay attention to. But T.Y. Hilton, he struggles to be on the field and stay healthy. He could absolutely eat up a ton of targets this year. Jack Doyle could be a red zone threat for them. And he may not be the guy that goes out there and gets 1,300 yards and 13 touchdowns from the tight end position like a Kelce or a Kittle or an Ertz. But he could definitely go out there, get you right around 80 to 90 receptions for about 800 to 900 yards, a handful of touchdowns, and he's a low-end tight end one. Love me some Jack Doyle here this year.
Yeah, and like I've said, things can fluctuate. Jack Doyle, the only place that he's going to go for me, Jack Mother and Doyle, the only place that he is going to go for me at this point is up. That's the only other place that he's going to go. Jack Doyle could possibly see 100 targets this year in that offense. Please keep in mind, back in 2017, okay? Back in 2017, when Jacoby Brissett was the quarterback, again, Phillip Rivers is the starting quarterback now, but back then, okay, 108 targets for Jack Doyle in that offense, okay? 690 yards, 80 receptions, 4 touchdowns. He could be heading for very, very, very similar numbers this year.
Love it. I love me some Jack Doyle. And he's somebody who's going to be super cheap on draft day, and you're going to have minimal risk if you draft him because you're going to be getting him in the later rounds. Next up for me, number 11, I have Hayden Hurst of now the Atlanta Falcons at number 11. Austin Hooper in this offense last year was a very pleasant surprise to a lot of people who maybe weren't happy on draft day when they got Austin Hooper. But, I mean, he produced solid numbers, last year in 2019. He's now gone. He's in Cleveland. Hayden Hurst, the new show in town there. I mean, yeah, he's got to, consider, Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley and now Todd Gurley in the backfield. But if anything else, defenses are either going to be keen in on the run game or Julio Jones. Calvin Ridley and Hayden Hurst, in my opinion, may be the best values in that offense here this year.
Yeah, I like Hayden Hurst. I do have him outside the top 12 right now, because I think Gurley is going to do a lot more damage in the passing game this year than any of the running backs that they had last year. So I think some of those targets that Austin Hooper had last year, he may not have had if maybe like Devontae Freeman was super healthy and his old self all season long, or they had like a pass catching back that was a little bit more reliable. So I think that's the reason Austin Hooper saw some of those targets last year. So I'm not entirely banking on Hayden Hurst putting up similar numbers. Again, though, this third tier of tight ends, there's only going to be a little bit of separates them, and Hayden Hurst is definitely within that group for me.
Yep, 100%. Last guy I have in my top 12, it's the kiss of death, Kyle. We did it last year. Didn't quite work out so much. I'm going O.J. Howard at number 12. Now, with Tom Brady in town, we know Tom Brady and Gronk was one of the best, quarterback to tight end duos, combos, whatever you want to call them, for a long time. Do we all of a sudden want to hop right back on the hype train of O.J. Howard? It's hard, but the potential is just through the roof, and a lot of people are going to be there on draft day. They're going to look at O.J. Howard's name. They're going to recall last year and be like, oh, hell no, I ain't dealing with that again, because he was such a disappointment. And it may cause him to drop farther and farther in drafts. In my opinion, he's going to be somebody who's strictly based off of ADP, whether or not he's worth it or not. But in a Tom Brady offense, in an offense in which, even though Bruce Arians is going to be calling the shots, he's not going to be, overstepping, or stepping on the toes of one Tom Brady. Tom Brady's going to have his way in this offense. And O.J. Howard may be somebody who benefits from it. Biggest issue, he's got to contend with Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. No running game as of right now. So, I mean, O.J. Howard has an opportunity, but he's kind of teetering on the top 12. There's some of those other guys that we didn't mention here, like even like an Eric Ebron in Pittsburgh, that may make me be a little bit safer than O.J. Howard, but the potential is there for him.
Yeah, OJ Howard just outside the top 12 for me. Between him and Cameron Brate, again, like he's always been there, is going to be more of that touchdown guy. Maybe he scores a touchdown here or there. Maybe he has that one game where he scores a couple of touchdowns. Everyone's like, oh, I knew I should have started Cameron Brate. But OJ Howard is going to be, he's going to be the guy that produces the numbers, the mass amount of numbers, the receptions, the yards, everything like that. So, with Tom Brady being there, 100%. Tom Brady used to go to his tight ends all the time. Now he had Rob Gronkowski, the best tight end of all time, if you want to go there. OJ Howard, though, is super athletic. He's a freaking nature on the football field. It just hasn't translated yet. Yet is the key word. Is it going to happen?
All right. Well, Kyle, we got 3 people that we did not touch on your rankings. One of them is all the way up at number 5. So I've got somebody outside my top 12 that you have inside your top 5. Yep. Why don't you go ahead and let us know who's the remaining tight ends on your list?
So at number 5, I have got Evan Engram, and people are going to go, oh, not this again. And I get it. He has probably worn out his welcome with a majority of fantasy football owners because he just can never stay healthy, right? He has issues staying on the field, everything in between. Here's a little bit into my philosophy, though, when it comes to preseason rankings. I don't necessarily bring somebody down in my rankings too much solely based on past injuries. Because at any point in time, that person can get healthy and play an entire season. There are some players that you look at it and you say, yeah, this guy is consistently injured. But let me just remind you that heading into, a few seasons ago, Keenan Allen was a guy that everyone needed to stay away from. The guy was always injured, could never stay healthy, whatever. He's been fine ever since then. Okay. So it's something I do keep an eye on, but I don't necessarily bring people down too much because of it. Evan Engram, when he is on the football field, he is one of the main targets in that offense. Last year when he was on the field, his targets, 68 targets, 14, 8, 8, 7, 11, 5, 7, 8. Okay. That's how much he's targeted when he's on the football field. He's definitely going to be looked at by Daniel Jones 100%. If he is healthy, he's the top 5 tight end. And that's why I've got him there, because if he's healthy, that's where he'll be at the end of the season.
Are you concerned at all about Darius Slayton taking another step forward in that offense and taking some of those targets away?
No, because Darius Slayton's a stretch the field type of guy. He's going to be the big play guy. He's going to be like a Deshaun Jackson kind of over the last few years. Not really the guy that's going to put up a ton of counting stats, but yeah, he's going to have a big touchdown every now and then. Slayton came on so well at the end of last season, part of because of the fact that Evan Engram was hurt and wasn't on the football field. So when Engram gets back out there, I think him actually being able to stretch the field helps Evan Engram a whole lot, because Evan Engram was kind of being looked at that guy to stretch the football field. He doesn't have to be that guy anymore.
I got you. What about your last 2, Kyle? What about 11 and 12? Who you got?
For 11, this is a slash for me. I've got 2 guys here right now, and it's going to depend on what happens in the draft. But I've got Kyle Rudolph and Irv Smith Jr. listed here right now. My heart's telling me Kyle Rudolph, because I've been a big Kyle Rudolph fan since he came into the league. I was really high on him a couple of years ago when Kirk Cousins came to Minnesota. That didn't end up working out. Kyle Rudolph could be a big red zone guy for the Minnesota Vikings. This is a guy that could end up having 8 touchdowns next season, and those touchdowns alone could keep him within striking distance. However, Irv Smith Jr., depending on what they do in the draft at the wide receiver position, Irv Smith Jr. is a guy that's going to be a huge receiving threat for them last year. It takes tight ends a while. They don't always come out and produce well right away. And you saw last year that Irv Smith Jr. didn't do a whole lot, but that was when Stephon Diggs was still on the team. That was him, because as a tight end, you've got to learn more blocking schemes and things like that. Kyle Rudolph did that instead. So this year, if he's a little bit more familiar with the playbook, a little bit more comfortable, we're going to see him on the field a little bit more. So if they do add like a big bodied, like red zone type wide receiver in the draft, then yeah, 100% Kyle Rudolph out and Irv Smith Jr. is here. If they go for more of your playmaker type wide receiver, then maybe I end up moving these 2 down, and they're really close kind of at that, again, back half of that 3rd tier.
All right. What about number 12? Who you got there? I love your number 12, by the way.
12.
I love number 12.
At number 12, Jonnu Smith. from the Tennessee Titans. Okay. Some of you might remember me making a call on him last season that didn't work out all too well. Smith is going to be a huge target for Ryan Tannehill this year. Absolutely huge target. I don't know what else I can really say. Honestly, keep your eyes out because I'm probably going to do a whole video committed to Smith at some point in time. But he's my breakout guy this year. He is just as freaky athletic as some of these top end guys. Now that Ryan Tannehill has a full season in the offense, you've got Derrick Henry there in the backfield. You've got A.J. Brown, who has established himself, so he's going to draw that defense a little bit more. Smith is going to be a huge contributor in this defense this year, or in this offense this year, and defenses are going to have to be careful because you're not going to be able to pull up to the line of scrimmage too much on Derrick Henry, but if you stay back too far, Smith is a guy that can run so many different routes. I mean, I'm in love with the Junior Smith. Keep an eye out. I'm going to talk about him a lot more as this offseason goes on, though.
Yeah, he's definitely somebody that's on my radar. I don't have him inside the top 12, but he is 100% trending up, depending on what happens here in the draft. But that was our top 12, both mine and Kyle's. You can see there's a little bit of differences, some that I'm a little bit higher on, some that he's a little bit higher on. But like always, it's an interactive channel. We want to know what you guys think, so throw it down below in the comment section. Let us know what you see where from the tight end position. Also help us out by hitting that like button and consider subscribing to the channel. If you're new here and you're looking for a ton of content, all things NFL, you found the right place. Hit that subscribe button, turn the notification bell on because you don't want to miss anything. We got some fire episodes coming up here in the coming weeks. And Kyle, we talked about it earlier in the week. We're going to live stream the draft. Since, we didn't get to go to it, we're going to live stream the first round of the draft at least. So look forward to that. Don't want to miss out on it. Go check out the website, fantasyheadliners.com. A lot of other great information there. And for myself and for Kyle, you guys have a great rest of your day. And make sure you go check out all of our other rankings videos. We'll have them for every position here by the end of the week. Have a good one. We'll talk to you guys later.